Well, hello there, Philadelphia. Your beloved Eagles are 2-1 after eking out and squeaking out a thrilling come-from-behind victory against the New Orleans Saints. And what an absolute tremendous win. If you saw my Instagram, you saw me absolutely going bananas after the game, screaming, who dat, we that team that's going to beat them Saints. I stuck my chest out with my head held high, walking out of the Superdome and marched my ass right down to Bourbon Street to party with thousands, and I do mean thousands of Eagles fans chanting E-A-G-L-E-S and singing Fly, Eagles, Fly. But Monday, after the thrill of victory kind of subsided and I had to board a plane headed back to Philadelphia, I couldn't help but reflect upon the game and ask myself, hey, E, when was the last time you genuinely felt good about a Philadelphia Eagles win? Well, what the hell are we talking about? You should feel good every time the Eagles win. They came out with the dub. So I had to quantify it. I had to put a measurable behind it. And I thought to myself, okay, when's the last time the Philadelphia Eagles won by a margin of more than one score? And I couldn't remember. So I had to look it up, and I did. It was actually October 22nd against the Miami Dolphins. It was one of only two games where the Eagles won of a margin larger than one score. The other game just so happened to be against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just so happened to stomp us out of the playoffs last year, who just so happens to be our opponent this week. It's a big game, and we owe them. I am saying all of this to frame this following statement. Eagles, you're effing killing us here, okay? We're trying to enjoy this, but you're effing killing us. It's gotten to the point where me listening and being an Eagles fan has to go when I apply for health insurance because I'm getting nausea, diarrhea, upset stomach, fighting off the tunnel vision from having to pass out all the time, high blood pressure, the whole of it. And we want to see you do good. We want to see you succeed, but you have to understand, we are tight wound right now as a fan base. We're loving the fact that you're winning, but my God, can we do so without having an aneurysm or a heart attack in doing so? So when we criticize Nick Sirianni for his in-game play calling, which we'll get into, and when we criticize Jalen Hurts for some of his decision-makings and the turnovers, which we'll get into, and when we want answers to who's responsible for what and who's calling what, which once again we will get into, just know that it's coming from a place of love. I am absolutely thrilled that our Eagles walked out of there with a victory, but once again, I can have more questions than answers in a dub. So do me a favor, all right? Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week. We owe them one. To quote the great Christopher Walken, don't just beat them, kick their ass. Your Philadelphia Eagles are 2-1, tied with the Washington Commanders, who all of a sudden after Monday night look like they might be a problem. The New York Giants finally got on the board with a dub against the Cleveland Browns. Cookie or a golf clap, you get one. Choose wisely. And what's that at the bottom of the division? Is that a blue star I see? It absolutely is. Now, look, to be fair, I know you're actually third in the division due to tiebreakers, but you're not that far off. All that and more in this episode of The Cheap Seats, but I'm going to turn over to my co-host right now. First, Black Gritty. Eagles got the dub. How you feeling?
I feel like you must be on something. I feel like you're on something. I feel like
I might be. I was on Bourbon Street.
I mean, you might have residuals going on. I don't know how you got the beads wrapped around. I had to talk to HR. He tried to get me to take my shirt off. I told him no. You know what I mean? He trying to throw beads at your boy. I heard him jingling as soon as he came in the door. Like a set of keys out here. You know what I mean? Running around. Oh, that's right. I get them for free now because we're on air. See? Trying to shut down that HR quote. You know what I'm saying? But the Birds are just, when they get you acting like this is when I feel good about life. When they turn somebody like you around to the middle ground of joy, it makes me feel really good inside.
Why?
I'm a sick individual.
Why?
And I look, I had somebody try to tell me earlier, like, I grew up in the 70s. You don't know nothing about the birds. I'm like, fat don't crack. And this googly, giggly laugh, don't let it fool you. I'm a 70s baby. I'm old enough to know how we used to suck, okay? I'm old enough to be a fan, had to live through some things before I got to Andy Reid and we won all the time. But when you get like this, it makes me feel good inside. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Ashford, how you feeling?
Well, per
It's too
usual.
early for that.
Oh, it's never too early. The show don't start until we crack them. Look, I'll say this. I'm glad you went on that rant. Last week when we sat here and we talked, I said I wasn't happy that they lost to the Falcons. Yeah. But last year when they won certain games, despite what our eyes told us, we tended to gloss over some issues, right? We weren't able to do that after the Atlanta game. And I'm glad that you opened the show the way that you did, because the reality is, yes, they walked away with a win. And if you kind of gauge the temperature of people around, a lot of people are still just focusing on the win. Grant, the conversation is about Sirianni. The conversation is about Jalen Hurts. It's not all positives, right? But by and large, I feel like there are too many people anyway glossing over what our minds, what our eyes tell us. Something ain't right still. It's the same exact thing that we saw in 2023. They got away with it. Right? Yeah. They went 10-1 before crash and burn for 1-6 to finish the season, obviously an early playoff exit. To me, what I'm seeing out of this, I don't care. You can take the Green Bay game and you can put, and I'm going to say that's a good start to the season, because it's working out some rust. It's the first game of the season. The Atlanta game showed us something. And even in a win, I'm telling you, the Saints game, albeit it's still a dub, we're still going to take it. It's still against the Saints, who are a high-flying offense. They were the hottest team in football. There's positives to take away from it defensively, offensively, even with it's tough to get critical because they were without their weapons, but there's just a lot that we have to get into, a lot that I don't think are good signs moving forward.
Yeah, so I don't want to dilly-dally around it. I want to get right into it. And rewatching the game, first of all, credit to the defense, right? You took a team that was throwing up on average a 40 burger, and for the majority of that game, held them to only 3 points. The interior of the defensive line, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, like, this was what we wanted. This is what when we drafted these guys, this is what we expected to see. Not Broderick Bunkley and maybe Corey Simon. No. We expected Fletcher Cox and freaking Jerome Brown in there, and they were dominant. They were still have yet to get a sack from the edge rushers in the last 7 games, so we'll talk about that. But overall, I think the defense came up, had the attitude, had the swagger, had a chip on their shoulder.
And do you see the difference?
Yeah.
This is why I always tell people, you build from the lines out, offense, defense. The lines are where the game is won and lost, and you saw the difference. Great. I'm happy that the Eagles revamped their entire secondary. It was absolutely necessary. But if you don't have a defensive line to get pressure, if you can't hurry the quarterback, if you can't win your one-on-one matchup, something that they did all day on Sunday, you don't have a chance. But you see how different the game plays out. Imagine if they got that type of pressure against the Falcons. Completely different ball game. Different game. You got that type of pressure. Game. You made a really good offense, at least through 2 weeks, look pedestrian at best. To me, that's where the battles are won and lost. Vic Fangio did a great job of adjusting. He went big personnel. He went bare front. You saw the difference in the game it made. We'll see what he does moving forward. But at least for 1 week, you're absolutely right. Yeah. From certain guys, from Jordan Davis, from Jalen Carter. You can go down the line, leave Huff out of it, but you can go down the line and say, hey, guys, we're impactful on the line, and it changed the game.
It did. And imagine if that defense was playing like that against the Falcons.
You heard it here first. The defensive line and offensive line matter in football. I mean,
breaking new ground.
No. What really matters is the heart and the want to. You got 900 pounds of beef in the middle, and it seems like unless the fans get in their butt or the coach is getting on them, like all that was want to. The Falcons aren't that much better. They're not the best offensive line in football. So for you to come out there and have the desire to do your job, because I think the Eagles are really in tune to what people say. After that game, it was the fans said this and people said that. There was a lot of bumping gums. You know what I mean? We got a small audience. We're new. Ain't nobody listening to us yet. But, I mean, we were saying the same thing everybody else is saying. But it's like, so do something about it, because we're complaining about things that we see. We're fans. We love you. But I'm like, you should have been pushing lines like that. Where's Carter been? Now, Davis has to show up, but Carter is a juggernaut.
Yeah.
He should be doing it every game. And it feels like, I got trouble last week. I'm going to go out and show everybody. Okay, well, do it for 16 more weeks.
See, I see it differently, personally. And I know what you mean. That's why we drafted the guy. He should wreak havoc on the line. He did that because what did he have all day? One-on-one matchups. He didn't get one-on-one matchups against Green Bay. He didn't get one-on-one matchups against the Falcons. Now, I can understand why Fangio had some concerns about going with the big front, and what they're calling it the bear front, which basically is just it's your alignment in the gaps and give you kind of one-on-one matchups. He predicated that for Jalen Carter, which he didn't do the first 2 weeks. So for me, it's less about want and more about a marriage between your personnel and the defense that you call. I think Vic Fangio made adjustments, and it worked. Now, it's not to say that you can do that every single week because obviously the personnel on the other side of the ball matters. Right. They felt like they could take advantage of some things, and it worked. I love Jalen Carter. I think he looked phenomenal. I love the heat he was bringing at the end of the game where he was chirping. I absolutely love that. Yeah. I'm curious, against Tampa, what does that look like when there's a different set of personnel and some probably different offensive weapons that can test the secondary? When you get into a bare front, you leave yourself a little exposed in the secondary. So I'm curious to see what Fangio and the defense does. But for 1 week, well, I'll give it to you, Gritty. Jalen Carter and that defensive line just phenomenal. So
if he's getting doubled last week, then that means somebody else should be breaking through the line.
Yep.
So I hear what you're saying. That makes sense to me. But if the guy's getting double teamed, then that means somebody else should be coming through. And it took Vic until the middle of the third quarter to make that big bear front, make a change. And then he forgot his mind on the last drive of the game. So it is a marriage between both. But I'm like, watch the game, bro. My favorite thing is like in the comments, people are like, oh, you're on the couch. So yes, I'm on this couch. This looks like I need a desk because people are talking about couch. It's a seat. I'm in the seat, looking in the cheap seats, watch the game. E-Rock's at the game. He sees the same thing I do. He at the game. He flying all across the country, spending good money to watch the Eagles barely beat people. Now, first of all, you said what we ain't beat nobody since the Miami game, and then Hill had to fall for us to not lose by 1 touchdown because they were driving down to score. I remember the game. I got a good memory, people. Then you beat the Tampa Bay Bucks. Oh, what-de-do? They came back and won this game. Are they in the NFC East? Why are we playing these fools every year, 2 times a year?
I feel like
they're in the division now. So Bowles has Hurts' number. Granted, we're going to talk about it. He's been much better against the blitz, but Todd Bowles is giving him problems. And then you asked for this is why I say he was on something. Man. He came back. He's still high. He said, and go down there to Tampa Bay and put your foot on them and give me a good. I ain't got receiver 1, receiver 2, receiver 3, receiver 6. What? I don't have a lineman, another lineman. This is the antithesis week of a win would be a win, and we would be really grateful to win by half a point, bro, because you out here asking people to put their foot on somebody's neck. I think these bees might have lead in them because you talking crazy. This ain't the week for
But you know what we do have?
What do we have?
We have a Saquon Barkley.
We do?
Who's got more touchdowns than some complete NFL offenses in the league.
Probably more rushing yards, too, than the entire offense. No, but I'm saying he probably has more rushing yards than teams.
Yeah.
Their entire stable of backs.
And Dallas Goedert, who, by the way, I was 1 week late on my Dallas Goedert breakout game. So thank you, Kellen Moore, for finally trying to scheme him open. And on that last touchdown, or that last drive where Saquon scored the touchdown, that was a scheme open Dallas Goedert play. Rewatching the game, they were trying to get Dallas, not the play before, but the 2 plays prior to that. They were trying to get Dallas on that crosser, and they just couldn't figure out how to buy Jalen enough time and how to get him open on the crosser. And there were 3 receivers to the left that cleared out that entire defensive backfield through a pick play where the Eagles receiver didn't even have to touch. It was almost cartoonish. Like if you were to cartoonish Hollywood style up a play where 3 players just bang into each other, Dallas was absolutely wide open. Jordan Mailata screaming, unhitch the wagon with your slow ass, getting down. It was finally time for Dallas Goedert. So, but the thing, when you're saying about those receivers, and of course, we hope we see A.J. Brown, unlikely. Smitty, unlikely. You never go back the week after going into concussion protocol. We'll probably see him after the bye week, which, by the way, we all pissed and moaned and bitched and complained about the week 5 bye week. Aren't we kind of looking at that now going, oh, thank God.
Well, now it's good.
Yeah, no, thank God. So we have an opportunity.
Let's see what week 11 looks like.
Yeah, we'll say that is fair. But when you sign a John Ross to the practice squad, when you have a Paris Campbell coming in and making plays, Dotson's really the only one that doesn't have a whole lot of experience in this offense. We all looked at Paris Campbell and Ross as like a failed experiment during training camp because they went out and traded for Dotson, right? Because it's like we need a legit wide receiver 3. Thank God those guys were in camp. Because once Smitty and AJ go down, you go looking around, and at least those guys, they're not coming off the street not knowing the offense. They at least know what's going on. So I'm not as worried about the offense. I think you can put up points, and the Denver Broncos with a rookie quarterback prove that you can do that. I'm feeling good about the Tampa game.
I wouldn't say I'm feeling good. And anytime you tell me I'm missing 1A from a wide receiver perspective, I'm missing my right tackle, I'm missing my right guard.
Fair.
Like anytime you tell me, and arguably the 3 most important pieces on offense outside of Jalen Hurts in Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, like those are really important pieces to your offense. So I wouldn't say I'm feeling good. If Kellen Moore decides to get Saquon Barkley involved early, something I have no idea why he didn't do it against the Saints. He waited until the 3rd possession.
He doesn't do it. He hasn't done it in 3 games.
I don't, and that's the part where I say I don't feel good about it. I'm not necessarily worried about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it all comes down to what you and I, like we're sitting here on our seats, our couch, whatever you want to call it, saying common sense. I know what's going to happen. We're going to run Saquon Barkley down their throat, eat time, manage the game, get out with a win. Now, that's up to Kellen Moore or Nick Sirianni or whoever's calling the plays, but that's up to them to devise a strong game plan based on the personnel you have. And I don't know that I have enough trust in them to do that just yet because they haven't shown us that they're willing to. Sometimes it's like the round hole square peg.
Right.
And they want to just try to force feed. Hey, doesn't matter who's lining up. This is our playbook. This is our game plan, and we're going to run it. And sometimes there are certain individuals that dictate you have to have or devise another game plan. My eyes are on Kellen Moore and how he comes out in this game.
Absolutely.
Ordinarily, I don't lie to people on any show or podcast I'm on, but last week I lied. And I'll tell you about the lie after you get to that bet 365.
Yeah, because that's never ordinary. You know who else is never ordinary? That's Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. Bet365 live streams 780,000 events per year. Early payout offers across NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. And let me tell you something. Take advantage of those early payouts. Take advantage of that because sometimes you make a bet, you put a little 4-leg parlay, and you know that leg ain't hitting. You can still get some coin back if you cash out early. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting. And today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. So, hey, listen, if NHL, NFL, MLB, NBA, you want to bet on some cricket, you want to bet on some rugby, you want to bet on some NASCAR, you want to bet how far I can throw these beads across Bourbon Street onto the other side, place a bet. You will absolutely be able to do it. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Can I tell you a quick story?
Tell me.
Every year, just to kind of keep my attention with the night games, because I'm getting a little older. It's kind of hard for me to kind of stay up at night. So I don't play fantasy football anymore. That used to hold my attention for the night games, right? Now I bet. I put $100 in the account, and I go ahead and I maybe place $5 3 or 4 leg parlays. What are we entering week 4? Week 4? I'm already out of money. So I might just create a new account and take advantage of this offer because I need to fill up the account once again. And that's what's beautiful. Again, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10. You're only depositing $10 and place a bet for $5. And you get $200 in bonus bets. And you can use those bonus bets for whatever you want. Same game parlays, bet the spread, whatever you want, you can use those bonus bets. And then if you win on those, you get to go ahead and cash out on them if you'd like. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment is never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you were someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And once again, nothing is ordinary at Bet365. Grady, what are you lying to us about? What are you lying to us about?
I'm not lying about the Miller time.
Right? Can I tell a story?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You know what I mean? Just gloss right over me, try to
look,
get to his lies.
I'm here for you.
I just get so excited when I get through a read without sounding like an idiot.
You did. Hey, you nailed it.
Yeah, no,
You nailed
I
it.
did.
You nailed it.
I did pretty good.
I think so.
That
And
30,
then-
that 30 cents a day is working out for you.
On the hook on phonics. Yeah, that's
All right, so look, here's the deal. I told you last week I went to Wisconsin with a couple of golf buddies. Right? I had myself a little golf trip. Well, this past weekend I went out to Utah, and I had another golf trip. This time with my Penn State buddies. But I got a bone to pick. Right, we go to the house. There's 13 of us. So I got a buddy that lives in Utah, kind of where we were heading to. He was going to handle the Costco runs, make sure the refrigerator was packed. We got all the food. Everybody threw the money in the kitty. He's going to handle it because he's local, right? Good. Yeah. Make sure we get there. Everything's stocked, taken care of. Everybody put in your suggestions. That's fine.
Nice.
Mum's the word from me, right? I don't participate in the group chats. It's too much for me. I stay out of it. I'm going to show up, eat the food, drink the beer. Everyone's merry. Get to the house. Beautiful house, right? Big old, we got the mountains in the background. Phenomenal. Beautiful house, 3 huge refrigerators, all stacked with booze. We got bourbons and tequilas. We got all the beers. We got seltzers. I open it up. I'm ready to crack it. I'm on vacation. I'm ready to golf. Open it up. Not one Miller Lite.
Oh, my God.
How do you not have one? I turned around. I said, guys, but it's great taste. And it's less filling. And I got nothing from them. I got nothing. And not one person of all the beers in there. I went person to person to person. I said, you don't drink Miller Lite? How do we not have Miller Lite? How is there not Miller Lite in the refrigerator? Now, I could have been a good soldier. I could have just said, fine, I'll drink your booze. Whatever's in the fridge, fine, I'll have it. Jay is not a good soldier. Made sure, I bitched about it for a solid day. I bitched about it. But then made sure we got out. Got a straight 30-pack for your boy. Nobody else was drinking a Miller Lite. That's on them. It was on me. If I was smart, I would have went to MillerLite.com/PHLY birds because I could have it delivered to the house.
Get out of here.
I didn't do it because the neat thing about Miller Lite, too, is you can also find it at virtually any store that sells beer. Yep. So I knew that. I ran out. I got myself the 30-pack. It was all good. I still have beef with my Penn State boys, but it was handled. Now, I already mentioned you can find it at any store that sells beer. But the trick is you got to celebrate responsibly, right? This is the T's and C's. Yeah. It's Miller Brewing Company in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's 96 calories per can, right? And it has less calories and carbs than any premium regular beer. I was willing to let it go, but let it be known for 2025 on the golf trip, Miller Lite will be stocked in the refrigerators. Gritty, you have a lie to tell.
I do. I said last week that Nick Sirianni isn't going to get the blame for the play calling because Kellen Moore calls the plays. And then Nick Sirianni, high school Harry, came on and pumped his chest about these guys are my guys and the plays are on me and no matter what happens, it's on me. And I overrode Kellen Moore on that one play that was dumb and the other calls were my calls. So now I don't know who's calling the plays, right? So now I'm going to blame you for everything that I don't like because I already don't like Nick. Then the next day he comes out and says, Kellen's calling the plays. I'm not going to answer this question again. It's not going to become a thing. You, Mr. Magoo, who can't keep a line straight, opened the door for this line of questioning to happen after every single game now. Yeah. They asked you a general question. You offered extra information, saving the coach and throwing the coach on the bus at the same time. My God, how could you do it? How is it possible? A true magician. I don't know how you can do both. But in the instinct of saying it's all on me, then just shut up and say it's all on me. But don't say, well, I overrode that play because I didn't like it and then it didn't work out, so it's on me. But that one he called it. Okay, so dude, they told you they're picking the coordinators. They told you you're not running the offense. You poke your head in the meetings now. It's a collaborative effort. So now you get the blame for everything. I said I wasn't going to do that, but now I don't know any better. So now he gets to blame when I don't like something. Yeah. And that's going to be how it's going to go.
And it has to be that way. The reality of the situation, though, is I'm sure it's confusing as hell for him, too. Right, because he's got to navigate these conversations. He full well knows there's some responsibility he has in the play calling, the design. There's responsibility Kellen Moore has in the play calling designs, who calls what when. Yep. He needs to step in as a head coach / CEO at certain times or certain downs. I think it's confusing for all of them involved. I mean, you blame Howie Roseman, really, because they put him in this situation. I don't know that Nick picked Kellen Moore. I don't know that Nick picked Vic Fangio. I think it was more of Lurie and Roseman picking these guys and saying, hey, you want to hang on board? All right, you're the CEO. You're the president of the company. But they're going to be the ones running the day-to-day, kind of find out where you fit in. So while you're right, at the end of the day, the head coach takes all the blame. But I think he's trying to navigate his way through, well, when do I say what? Because I don't necessarily know what I'm supposed to say, when, what my role is, how do I fit in? And that's unfortunate.
You don't have anything else to do.
I agree.
You don't have anything else to do.
But that's why he stumbles over himself, is my point.
You literally have to bring out pom-poms and clap your hands. And you can't do that. Why are you still here?
Well, why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Okay.
Because Brandon Graham will disagree with you. Brandon Graham has come out and said, look, you guys can say what you want about Nick Sirianni, but we wouldn't play the way we play if we didn't want to play for that coach.
What side of the ball does Brandon Graham play on?
Defense.
Okay. I don't care what he says then.
Okay. I mean, he's a leader on the team.
He is a leader on the team, on the defensive side of the ball. So if he gets to hear Nick Sirianni give his cheering, what affects him and his job and his role has nothing to do with Nick Sirianni. It's never come from Nick Sirianni. It doesn't matter other than watering the flowers. And I'm sorry, but a 15, 16, 90,000-year vet who's lived his whole entire life in Philadelphia, who has learned how to go through war zones here, comes out on the positive side of life. Brandon Graham is out here throwing out cookies to the homeless, okay? God bless him, but I really could care less about his opinion because he is a positive rah-rah guy. I hear you, respect you. He is the BG. Don't call me BG when we in the same room, ever. But he's on the defense. So this man who he says, I'm not calling the plays. But then when the plays are wrong, he's calling the plays. Now, granted, somebody told me when they went to the Super Bowl and he was calling fourth downs all the time and you didn't care. I'm like, because it was a tush push on a 4th and 1 where you get 3 yards. They weren't 50 yards away from the end zone going for fourth downs and not taking field goals. They weren't skipping 37-yard field goals repeatedly over and over again. You went into a halftime of a 3-0 game with 13 seconds left and a timeout and decided to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking a field goal. Let's say you get it, Nick Sirianni, you moron. Then you have to clock it with what, 2.2 seconds left and magically get a play in the end zone? No. You call the timeout, which gives you 8 seconds, which gives you half a play in the end zone, if possible, if you don't get tackled before the end zone, because you're not on the goal line.
No.
So at what point is it not moronic to do that for any coach in the league? And then he does it on repeat. And then he brings out a cold kicker and says, kick 61 yards in the loudest stadium in the country. Go ahead. I believe in you. He's a moron.
So that's where when we opened up the show, I said, I'm seeing things moving forward that I just don't like. And to me, it falls squarely on the shoulders of two individuals, and they happen to be the two important individuals on the team. Nick Sirianni for the questionable decision-making, right? And it's because it's not consistent. I can get behind it when, okay, that's just the way he plays and it makes sense. And he said this is what he's going to be and who he's going to be. And because I defended him for the fourth or the third down play where he threw to Saquon Barkley and we wanted to just run the ball into the clock. And I defended him because it made sense to me. But watching certain play calls last week against New Orleans, and I'm in Utah with all my buddies, we're watching the game, and I'm just stomping. I'm just stomping around the house going, what the hell? Like, this pisses me off because now I'm getting angry. The second problem that I'm seeing, and if you ask me, I'm going to say it's going to be more impactful than even Nick Sirianni as the head coach, is Jalen Hurts. Well, I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts.
Hold on, we finished with Nick Sirianni first. You got anything to say about Nick?
I do have a thought about Nick because this week he did say, like, it's a collaborative effort, right? It's a collaborative effort. We all put our heads together. And that is 100% true. And not only for Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles coaching culture, but it's like that for everybody. It's always a collaborative effort. It was a collaborative effort under Doug. You take the tight ends coach, the offensive line coach, Stoutland, who chimes in. You take the running backs coach. You kind of all put it on a play chart. Hey, if it's 3rd and long and they're playing this kind of defense, this is the kind of things we want to run. If we're seeing this tendencies, what plays do we like here? And then you go ahead and choose from the menu. It's not uncommon for a head coach to kind of bring in the group and say, okay, how are we going to handle the offense this week? And then Andy Reid did it with Eric Bieniemy, right? Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator. Now it's Andy's offense, right? It's a collaborative effort, but Eric Bieniemy is calling the plays from a set play chart that they all agreed on as a collaborative effort for the group. Now, if you listen to Nick Sirianni speak, of course you have to like, I don't want to say dumb it down because half the time it sounds dumb to begin with, but you kind of got to get through the weeds of what he's actually saying. So when he's talking about this person chiming in and this person chiming in and my old brother who coaches high school, he's chiming in, it genuinely is a collaborative effort. But I also can't help but think that Nick Sirianni, and he's a likable guy, has just been put in a no-win situation. We talked about it last week. When things are going right, it's thank God Vic Fangio, thank God Kellen Moore. But when things go shitty, it's, well, my God, Nick Sirianni's a stew nut. He's a boob. Get rid of him. He needs to be fired immediately. I can't have, he's a professional, right? And we're all professionals, and he talks in front of a microphone, and he's a professional. But we're all subject to being human.
No doubt.
And I can't help but think that after hearing the fan base, and you know what's interesting, Gritty? You brought up the point, like, all the players were hearing this and that. And even Nick Sirianni this week came out on air and said, yeah, we heard all the noise. Oh, I thought you don't hear all the noise. I thought you cancel out all the noise. I thought you keep everything in. No, they're hearing the noise. Nick Sirianni's hearing all the fan base sing the praises of the coordinators and want him rode out of here as soon as possible, that he's sitting there in game thinking, this is the only way that I can make an impact on the game. This is the only way that Nick Sirianni gets to be the hero. That if I'm gutsy and if I'm ballsy, because that's what Philadelphia likes, I go for it on fourth down, and I'm aggressive, and that's what I do. We're gonna do this. That's the way I impact the game. And it's listen, bravery and foolishness are two sides of the same coin. Bravery and desperation are two sides of the same coin. And when I see the Eagles going for it unnecessarily, I wasn't going to murder them for going for it against the Falcons. You're in your home stadium. You're trying to establish dominance. I get it. But when you're in somebody else's house and every drive, every play, every call feels like the entire balance of the game hinges upon it, take the points. It's not that hard.
You doubled them in yardage in the first half and was in the red zone 3 times with 0 points, and they have 3 points. Make it make sense to me.
What did you have to gain? You walked
there's
through.
no
What did you
good
have?
outcome.
Even if you picked up the first down, what were you going to do? Call timeout, like you said, with 8 seconds, and then what do you have?
Right.
Then you have to throw a route to the sideline. Maybe you get 3 points, but odds are you're just going to clock it or call a timeout and kick the field goal anyway. So I didn't understand what the point of going for it there. That's my problem with Nick Sirianni. I'm glad we do the show on Wednesdays because it gives me an opportunity. If we did this show on Sunday, Gritty, I promise you, I would have called for his head regardless of the W or not. But after...
I'm still calling for his job.
I won't do it, and here's why I won't do it.
You're a better man than me.
No, it's not that, because if you ask me to push the button, right, it's the red pill, blue pill, right? Move on without Sirianni or stay steadfast with Sirianni because that's my coach. I would probably tell you that if I'm being true to myself, I'd say he ain't the guy. I would probably tell you he ain't the guy. But then because we're here on Wednesday and I have a chance to kind of think about it, I have a chance to kind of look back at where we've been, where we've come from, where we are today. I mean, first-year head coach gets him to the playoffs. Second-year head coach gets him to the Super Bowl. Third-year head coach gets him to the playoffs, including a 10-1 start. Now we're sitting here at 2-1. Like, it is hard to win football games in the NFL.
Absolutely.
It is hard to win football games, and we've done a lot of winning, albeit maybe not the top prize that we wanted. We sniffed it, didn't quite bring it home. But I sit back and I say, well, is there another coach out there? I'm sure the list is there of who would be that target replacement. But as difficult as it is to win, is there a guy out there that we're sitting here saying over a 3-year stretch would have netted better results? I'm hard pressed being where we've been as 70s and 80s babies and knowing what an L feels like. And even when we had the best coach, arguably in NFL history, no, I'm not talking about Bill Belichick, I'm talking about Andy Reid. Even when we had Andy Reid and winning records, it was tough to win. We could not pull home the prize. My point is, I'm glad it's a Wednesday because I can kind of sit back and say, well, all right, maybe he's not as bad as I think that he is, but boy, he's frustrating.
So I'm gonna wrap it up and then bring it back to Jalen for you so you can get to your Jalen point.
I appreciate you.
You are a crazy individual because even as we sit here on Wednesday, I want him fired. And far be it from me to bring up what you just said, which makes total sense when you say it out loud. But they fired the only coach that came here and won a Super Bowl, who was winning, who was loved by the team, who was good. And if it wasn't for the quarterback controversy and ego management and Jeffrey Lurie backing off and telling Howie, hey, go do your thing. And Howie's saying, I want more control. I'm going to come down on the field during your practices like I'm the head coach. And Doug saying, hey, I'm a grown man that won your Super Bowl. Give me respect or I'm out. They fired that guy. So I don't have the responsibility or luxury as an Eagles fan saying, I want to stick with this guy because he's winning games. Because you know what? I believe that Jalen Hurts and a historic defensive run are the reason that we racked up all those wins. I believe that the players have more to do with anything, because when they lost that game to the 49ers, it was the players' discomfort and disagreement that led us into that tailspin of losing. They were the ones doing the players' meetings every week. Wasn't the coach. Where was he at? I don't know. Now you take away all his power. What's the difference in him being there? Because in the last 2 weeks back to back, he hasn't learned from his mistake. And if he wants to be Nick Campbell, then go up there and do what you said. Stand on business. I think we're better than the Saints. I'm not backing down. I'm not taking these punk field goals. They couldn't do nothing against us. I don't care what you think. It's what I wanted to do because I believed in the team. You should have said that, Magoo, but you didn't because you fumble and stumble over everything you say. So I just go with the you don't know what you're doing. And since they fired Doug Peterson, the only person who gave me joy and grace in my life for the Eagles, 100%. I love the team. I'm happy a lot. But 100% happiness? Doug Peterson, and he got fired.
Yeah, but at what point do we realize that Doug just ran into a hot stretch? At what point do we realize that Doug may not be the coach?
The luckiest.
Correct, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, they fired that guy because maybe that guy wasn't as good as we want to give him credit for. Won a Super Bowl.
That's my point about
what
players,
has he done in Jacksonville?
Because then he's down there with the golden child, and everybody said that this guy's better than Hurts. All these quarterbacks that you want to line up out of that draft class, love all these guys. Hurts has the better winning record than all of them, and some of them have vastly better coaches than Nick Sirianni. So I'm giving credit to the players because guess what? You bring Saquon on a team, look at the run game. When you have good talent, it's good. So my tee up to you is we can't do both, bro. I can't win games with all these turnovers and overcoming Nick Sirianni. Something's got to give.
Okay, so
Jalen's got to
I'm glad
take care of his side because I don't think Nick's going to change. Jalen has got to pull it in.
I'm glad you said that because it does two things when you said that. If you say it's on the players, not as much as the coach, and that kind of alleviates all of our burn on Nick Sirianni because we can bitch about him all we want, but we can't then in the same breath say it's on the players more than it is on the head coach. Because if that is the case, then all we're doing, we're just directing our angst at Nick Sirianni when the reality is it's on the players under that guys, right? Yeah. So let's get into Jalen Hurts.
Number 2. I
am going to first and foremost because if we're going to peel back the layers of the onion, right? We got to be objective and absolutely fair about it. And I've said this on the show before, I am a massive Jalen Hurts fan. Always have been since draft day. I appreciate the way he carries himself, the way he handles his business. For me, that's my type of quarterback, right? So I say all that. You walked out of New Orleans. You were without your wide receiver 1 and 2. You were without your right tackle, your right guard. You found a way to get a win, right? Minus arguably 3 of your most important players. We said this earlier in the show. So fair enough. You threw for 300 yards. All right, you helped your tight end set 170 yards, which is the second most in Eagles. Like you did your job.
Yes.
Right? I won't. His efficiency against the blitz, phenomenal. Right? He's right up there statistically with where you'd want him to be, except for arguably the most important stat, the turnover battle. 7 straight games with a pick. That's a problem. Second most turnovers in football behind who? Will freaking Levis.
Oh, boy.
For everything I love about Jalen Hurts, which there are a lot, I cannot excuse the turnover issues. Yeah. I put less of it on that first pick in the end zone with DeVonta Smith. I put less of it on him on that one. That's frustrating. I don't want to see it happen. I understand why he threw it. The one where he just drops the ball, he got chased and just put the ball on the carpet. Inexcusable. And it's not one that I can sit here and say, okay, it happens, because it happens every week.
Yep.
How am I supposed to take this team seriously? How am I supposed to get behind Jalen Hurts as much as I love him when the most important statistic in football, the turnover battle, you lose every single week? I can't remember the last time the Eagles won the turnover battle. You've won a lot of games, even despite losing the turnover battle. That's not a recipe for success.
And there's got to be a tell. and nobody's talking about it. There's got to be a tell because it's always the safety that's reading Jalen Hurts that knows exactly where he's going with the ball and knows exactly what he's doing. And I like that interception in the end zone. I know it came out and it said, okay, that play worked against the Atlanta Falcons, and that's why we ran it again. I was in the third row from the top of that stadium, which, by the way, loudest stadium I've ever been in. That place was noisy, very loud. But I'm in the third row from the top, in the end zone.
Cheap seats.
In the cheap seats. There you go. In the cheap seats. And the play is happening on the opposite end zone. And my eyes at 42 years of age aren't that great. They're not bad, but they're not great. As soon as he threw that ball, I did probably what you did at home and went and just sucked my teeth real hard because they were bracketing Smith, and there was not only one. If you had it from the end zone camera or my view, it was not only one. There's two people that could have made a play on the ball. They were bracketing him. And there was two people that could have made a play on the ball. As soon as he went, cocked that thing back, I knew that was a pick. I knew it was. How do you not know it's a pick?
So
go ahead, Gritty.
So terrible play on both parties. You throw that ball because if the wide receiver flashes across his face, even though you're being bracketed, you're the one that turns at the last second to go get that ball, and you go to the ball. Matthews is a bully. The Saints are dirty players. They were hitting people early, often, late, out of bounds all game, and they mushed the smaller receiver. So bad throw, but a throw that normally, if it would have been a guy who weighs 50 pounds more, maybe,
A.J. Brown.
They would have fought through that, and nothing else, the ball would have got batted down. Because even when you saw from a distance, I'm sure you saw it watching it live, when you watch the throw, you see exactly what he was doing. But then as soon as Matthews touches him, you're like, he's too small. And you saw the smaller receiver get almost like Scooby-Doo stopped in his tracks. So that one I'm giving a pass to. The fumble is inexcusable. And I'll say this because everything you said is right, so I don't want to repeat what you said. But I'll give this as my caveat to, yes, it needs to stop. But the same thing I can say about when I say things about Jalen and what everybody else keeps saying is, you mess up 2 times in a game often. Then you come down and you lead the team to score. You lead the team to come back to have a chance to win. What you tell every single player in a sport is, you struck out, wipe it out of your mind. I know you struck out, wipe it out of your mind. You throw a pick, wipe it out of your mind. You can't. I watch so many quarterbacks have 1 or 2 interceptions, which cavalcades into 5 or 6 in a game. I've watched many a times where Jalen Hurts had 1 mistake in a Super Bowl and come back and play lights out. Then I see you got there and I'm screaming my head off in the first half, like, Nick's not taking the points. You throwing the ball. You are not you. And then I'm like, oh, dang. You do hit the crosser. You do run up the sideline for 50 yards. And so I say we can't win with both mistakes. And Jalen's the only one I believe in to fix the problem. But again, we're going into a game with 0 minus negative weapons. So go ahead, Jason, tell me.
This is where I struggle because I agree with you. Again, I'm a Jalen Hurts fan. I agree with you. And you got to wipe it. He said flush it, right? That's what you got to do. You got to flush it and move forward. And that's what he's so good at doing. But the reality is you're not going to get away. It was the Saints. And as great as the Saints looked in the first 2 weeks, it's the Saints. You're not going to get away with games like this where you lose the turnover battle again and it's in the postseason or it's late in the season, you're playing quality opponents or whatever that looks like. Last year, again, this is why I say we pulled the wool over our eyes because it's a dub. Last year, they trailed the Bills 17-7 at half. Came back and won. Rah-rah. They trailed the Chiefs 17-7 at half. Came back and won. Rah-rah. But at the end of the season, they are who we thought they were.
Well, we said that. We know that.
My point is the same things are happening.
Yeah.
So for us to sit here and say, but that's okay. He turns it over a lot, still finds a way to win. Okay, good, but that's short-lived. You can only tow that rope for so long. Right. For me, that is what I'm looking for, not to segue into Tampa, but that's what I'm looking for from Tampa. I understand where we're deficient. I understand what the game plan needs to be. I need Jalen, just for my own peace of mind, have a clean game. No turnovers. His passer rating, his efficiency, his completion percentage, phenomenal. It's all phenomenal. Stop turning the ball over, and then maybe we can start to ride the wagon a little bit. We can kind of get on board with, Okay, he's taking. That's the most Gritty. You know this. That's the most important thing in football.
First of all,
take care of the ball.
I said he has to stop doing it.
Yeah, correct. I know. I'm just ramming the point.
But my real point is like this week is not the week for that to happen. So
for what to happen?
A clean game.
Yes, this is exactly the week for it to happen.
Yeah, every game.
This is 100% the week because just like last week when you made the mistake and you tried to force it into a smaller body in DeVonta Smith because you didn't have A.J. Brown and you should have made a smarter decision. I get that you want to force it in there. I get that that's what the elite quarterbacks do. You want to prove that you can make that throw, and he would have, and we would have sat back and said, see, that's why he's a franchise quarterback. I get that you want to do that. But if you don't have wide receiver 1, you don't have wide receiver 1A, you have to make better decisions with the football. Don't try to fit it in as much. Be careful. No, I mean, pause. Be careful what you check into, what you check out of. Get the ball in Saquon's hands. Take what the defense gives you. It's up to Jalen Hurts to win this football game, but it's going to rest on his arm and his brain. I think he could do it. Yeah. He's got to go out and show it. And if he shows it, I promise you next week, if we're sitting here after a W in Tampa heading into a bye week, I'll feel a hell of a lot better about my quarterback than I currently do. I love that he's a winner. I love everything about him, but there's work to be done. He's got things to clean up.
Well, I'm telling you this week that's not going to happen.
That's a problem then.
There's things to clean up, and
not this week.
We do feel like we're repeating ourselves. We do feel like we're talking about last year and we're seeing the same things and we're talking about the same things. And I feel, honestly, like I'm repeating myself on the show, but it's worth mentioning that besides the turnovers...
He's got 4 interceptions and 3 fumbles, right?
Besides the turnovers, he was throwing an incredibly accurate and catchable ball. He was throwing with touch and finesse to Dallas Goedert, who would have had another long reception where he put the ball in only Dallas. Remember the one where he had to turn over his shoulder?
Didn't see it.
And Dallas didn't see it. But that was intentional. That was on purpose with pressure in his face to get it to a spot where only Dallas could get it. The guy still ran hard when he needed to, forgot the bad plays, kept it moving, kept the main thing, stood tall in the pocket, delivered an accurate throw, did the throws, executed the offense the way it was supposed to be executed. And on that final Dallas Goedert play where the entire left side of the offense and the wide receivers cleared it out and you got guys clanging into each other, Jalen checked into that play. Jalen checked into that play. So he's got commanded. But again, we go back and we won. But we keep going back to, we know the things that are going to bite us in the ass and cost us in the end. We've identified it from week 1 here on the cheap seats. You all have been talking about it at home. How does that get better at this point? How does it get better?
So, and I don't know yet how it gets better because for all the challenges that we're pointing out here and the things that he needs to do, he has played some really good football. I actually think to back that up, he has the fifth best odds, MVP odds right now. He's playing good football. His completion percentage, I think, is north of 70% the last 2 games. His efficiency against the blitz, which we all questioned coming into this season, has been phenomenal. I guess the reason that I'm being, you could call me Negadelphia, shout out Mike. You could call me Negadelphia, that's fine. I'm trying to be objective with what I see. We're not the Commanders, all right? We're not the Giants. We're not some other schleps in the NFL that are just trying to find their way and build a winner. We talk about how this team has Super Bowl aspirations. We talk about the roster creation and what should be, could be. So for me, I'm just trying to point it out. I'm trying to call it out so that I don't sweep it under the rug. There are things that need to get cleaned up, and there are things from our franchise quarterback that we are tied to for $250 million, mistakes that are routinely being made. Again, they happen. You're going to turn the football over. It's not to say that every game you play is going to be a clean game. I get all that. But the frequency for which it happens, for me, I look at it and say, look, I've been watching football a long time. You don't win football games by turning the football over. You want to lose a game because of turnovers? It happens. Had a bad day. Fair enough. 7 straight games with a pick?
Yeah.
The turnovers are a problem for him. I can't reiterate enough how much I love Jalen Hurts and how much I want him to be the quarterback of this team. I've got to see a change in turnovers.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm lying to myself and I'm pulling the wool over my eyes. I won't do it. It's that simple. It's black and white.
But when the lights were brightest, he put on those shades, right? And we walked out of there with the dub. And Jason, right now, I think you can kind of get yourself a little Jalen Hurts and put on those shades when the lights are bright.
Well, I mean, because he must have had them on in New Orleans. He must have had them on in New Orleans because when it came down to that final drive, marching right down the field, shout out Dallas Goedert, got in the end zone, Saquon Barkley, appreciate you for the score. I needed a pair of Shady Rays. I keep going back to my golf trips. Very bright in Utah, close to the sun, high elevation. I needed a good pair of glasses. I didn't have them because you know what I hate about certain glasses, and I know we both have them. Sometimes you get a pair of sunglasses that sure, they shade, right? But they're just dark. They're just dark. You can't see. Sometimes you put them on. It's like, okay, but hold on. Wait, can I see? I needed a good pair of polarized lenses that when you put them on, you can actually see what you're doing. It's not some cheap pair that just provides some cover, right? That's why I recommend Shady Rays. I've told you before on the show. I'll tell you again. I'm a little bit frugal. The thing I love about Shady Rays is, yeah, okay, you may get yourself a decent pair, but if you break them, if you lose them, don't sweat it because they have the best support program in the business. 30-day risk-free trial. If you don't like them, they will refund you. They will get you taken care of. But if you do lose them or break them, the support program will hit you up. I got a deal for you. It's every week we do the same deal. It's exclusively for our listeners on Shady Rays. They have their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code PHLY for 35% off the polarized sunglasses and do what I've already done, what hopefully you guys have already done, and give these 5-star sunglasses a shot. By 300,000 people. 300,000 people have rated these things 5 stars. It's not just me saying it, guys. I'm telling you, give them a shot. They're dope sunglasses. We rock them on the show. I'm waiting for Shady Rays to send your boy a pair so I can rock them outside of the show. He's going to make me go on and use my PHLY code to get them myself. But I'm going to hold out. Again, I'm frugal. I told you this already, Shady Rays. I'll talk to you after the show.
So you're not watching the show live today because you're probably a diehard. And if you're a diehard, you're doing what you should be doing right now. You are watching the Phillies play for the number 1 seed in the NL East. And I don't blame you because we are champions. And that's what you should be watching right now. You can come back and watch us later because you're a diehard. So I know you're watching us on the replay. You got us on YouTube. You got us on the podcast. You download it somewhere. I know you're watching right now. And you do that because you're a diehard. And you can go become a diehard if you're not one by going to PHLY.com. Go in there, you drop $7 a month, you drop $7 for the year. You get in the Discord, chat people. We got events going all the time. Shout out to Zach Berman. He got his book out, Go get that today, If you want to come to the event, sign, See people, hang out, get a little sandwich or something. It'd be cool. They got a new shirt out. You get 20% off all your merch. They got the On the Road to Victory t-shirt. I'm just saying, Saquon out here doing it. That's the road to victory. That's the only road to victory I see is riding the back of that pony. So make sure you go to the website and check it out. Become a diehard. Get into the Discord. Change your life. Clean up the cesspool of Twitter that you're living in. I say it every week. Just get in there around some like-minded people. Find out where the best cheesesteak is. You know what I mean? You might even find yourself a girl because there's some ladies out there in the Discord. It's on and popping up in there. Go ahead and become a diehard today. And speaking of diehard, shout out to Chris out here in the chat. Throwing some money at your boys. I told you I'm not doing nothing for these bees. I'm not doing nothing for that tip. But I will bring up your comment, Christopher. The offense does look the same. Shame on the offense. I'm done with the RPO. I got to say no. I'm done with not using your running back for a quarter and a half. One time to run the ball. A running back that ended up with almost 8.5, 9 yards per carry to end the game. And you don't give him the ball one time in a full quarter. And then you wonder why your quarterback's throwing interceptions. Maybe he's throwing the ball a little too much. Maybe you guys think that this week is about to be something different because we're going to talk about Tampa Bay. But when I got an offensive coordinator who, again, I'm blaming for everything too, that doesn't seem to start the game off with Saquon Barkley, forgets that Dallas Goedert's on the team. The only reason Dallas Goedert got the ball is because E-Rock was about to suit up and go out there in New Orleans to go play for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's the only reason that Dallas Goedert got a pass thrown his way because he hasn't been there. I've seen 3 other tight ends catch passes before Dallas in these games. I don't know who he slept with. I don't know whose doghouse he's in, but my goodness, fix it. And my last note, because I know y'all out here watching media, and anybody who knows Dallas Goedert personally, I am not a savant of football. I don't know everything, but I do know one thing. You keep getting injured because you throw out this punk-ass chicken wing stiff arm for no reason. And people latch on to you, bull you down because you're a big dinosaur, and you fall on it with all your weight. 2 times now you've been knocked out of games. And I saw you throw a stiff arm 42 minutes early when you had that 65-yard run. And I'm like, that's how you get injured, bro. What is all this? There's no more than 10 yards of you, and you're out here just swinging your arm around like this. Stop. And then you slow down to do it, too, because you feel them coming. You're just out here waving hi to people. Stop it. Goddard, send this to, clip it and send it to the man, and so he can save himself from himself, and maybe we can get him involved in the game earlier. But let's talk about Tampa and why we're gonna have like 92 turnovers.
This is for Chris. This is for Chris right here. That's for the super chat love. I appreciate that one. But before we get into Tampa, and we're going to segue into Tampa exactly like this, because Gritty, you might have answered the question that I've been sitting here kind of stewing over. Because earlier on in the show, you said this ain't the week. This ain't the week. He's not going to be clean this week. And I went like, what? And then we kind of moved on to other subjects, but it's kind of been in the back of my, what do you mean by that? Because we're on to Tampa Bay now. We're talking about Tampa Bay. We just got done talking about Jalen Hurts. Why don't you think that's going to be cleaned up this week? What is Tampa Bay doing that you see them being disruptive to Jalen? Or is it as simply as a Saquon thing?
In general, I'd say right now, you just go out there and run the ball, get a couple passes. Tampa Bay, the way you beat them is you run at them. They can't tackle in the secondary, and they can't tackle on the second level. They have bad tackling, and we're busting through lines right now. So I would essentially say you play action off of that, throw a couple bomb touchdowns, but I don't know who you're going to throw them to. But I feel like you could normally manage this game easily if you played the right way, but we're down so many weapons. And I just feel like Bowles, who is a CEO head coach, actually knows how to run his defense too. And has given us problems year after year, game after game. We're 1-3 against him. I think he thinks, well, you know what? We can't tackle. And all they got is Saquon Barkley. I'm putting 9 guys in the box. And now I'm going to ask you to beat me. With who? Scooby-Doo and Goedert? Let's go. Let's go. Let's see how hard these routes you want to run. Smitty, who catches and fake catches more balls than any wide receiver I've ever seen in my life, because he drops so many passes, but he catches them so fakely well that you can't even tell. He's so good at that. But these other guys coming in here, I don't know. 6'8", got stone hands, it seems like, in the game. He gets a little nervous. All these guys coming off the practice squad? Oh, shucks. I'm happy to be here. I don't know. We might have a Greg Ward situation. We might have, one of these hometown heroes. Covey was out there catching 9 passes. We were hating on Covey. Covey was out there catching. Now Covey in the sling. Now I got to see DeJohn bringing punts back. There's a whole lot of question marks this week when I normally would have felt like at least we had the weaponry, because the biggest thing that I had hope in was all the faults, Jalen figured out the blitz. Jalen figured out the blitz. And that would have helped me be calmer about the Bucs, because that's what they like to do, throw the blitz. But now they're going to be stop the run. So I just feel like this is not the week to say, don't have any turnovers.
Yeah, but it is, for all the reasons you just listed. I'm not saying they won't have any turnovers, because they very well could, for all the reasons you just identified.
I'm just preparing myself. I'm a realist.
Fair enough. No, I get it. But I'm saying if you want to leave Tampa with a W, you have to have a clean game, because this is not a game where you can afford to turn the ball over. Now, look, maybe I'm wrong, right? Who knows? Maybe they turn it over 3 times and still find a way to win. I don't know. I'm just saying, going into the game, this does not seem on paper like a game where you can just sacrifice possessions, turn the ball over, put your defense in the spot, and then still think that without A.J. Brown, without DeVonta Smith, that you're somehow going to put enough points on the board to win the game. But if you can stay clean,
what are points?
I don't know. Because
we don't take them, right?
Take 3.
So who cares about points? Who cares about points? Points don't matter.
If you can do that, I get it. They're going to stack the box. That doesn't mean you don't run the ball. You still got to run the ball. Yeah. It's up to Kellen Moore. If he's this guy that we've said is the guy coming in, and oh my God, wait till Kellen Moore takes over this offense and scheme guys open and divide. Like, if he is this guru that so many people want to say that he is, which I don't necessarily agree with, then show me a game plan that, okay, we're going to get Saquon Barkley his touches, because that's going to be our bread and butter. We're going to find ways to get Dallas Goedert. You're going to have to sprinkle in Jahan Dotson. You're just gonna. You have to. You've got to find a way to get your pass catchers involved. That doesn't mean it's a thread the needle, throw in the end zone in bracketed coverage. But to me, this comes down to a game where Kellen Moore or Nick Sirianni, whoever, come up with a smart, like simplistic game plan that plays to your strengths, and Jalen Hurts take care of the football. The defense obviously has to do their job, right? Yes. We can't ignore that. The defense has to be some semblance between what we saw, like better than what we saw against the Falcons, and probably not as good as what we saw against the Saints. Somewhere in the middle is where they'll fall. Defense has to have a game. Jalen has to take care of the football. Those two things happen. I think you have a shot to win the game. If not, if either one of those things don't happen, I again, like I said last week, I just don't see how you come home with a win.
So, no offense to you.
I got what is going on with the beads?
No offense to you. This is for Chris. I'm showing off my love.
It's like a face mask.
It is. I mean,
when you look at it in the camera, that's a good look.
I'm shining.
You are.
I'm twinkling, and I had to show nothing. I had to flash nothing. So, no offense to you, but I'm not going to invite you over for dinner.
Me. I don't care.
No, it's just real. I am going to offend you, but that's what people say.
You're not going to offend me.
That's what they say with no offense. When they say no offense, they're about to offend. So, E-Rock, I'm going to invite you over for dinner. I make a mean stir fry. All right? It's killer. Sometimes we have shrimp, filet mignon, and chicken on that joint because I'm balling. I got a little bit of change in my pocket. But this week when you come over, I only got enough money for hamburger, and instead of rice, I might use like mashed potatoes. And instead of vegetables, I might just put some parsley in it for color. It's still stir fry though. You know what I mean? Like, come over and enjoy the meal because Kellen Moore is such a good cook. He could do it without Lane Johnson. And with Malik in a cast, missing 2 and 3 linemen, and your wide receivers, and your I understand that he's got to go out and do the things because he's the magical Kellen Moore. But my goodness, when you show up at the grocery store during the pandemic and there's not a roll of toilet paper on there, guess what? You might as well not eat because you can't afford to go to the bathroom and wipe. So good luck with that whole show me this plan that's going to happen against a complete team over there.
Okay, look, I'll take your analogy. If I go to the cupboard, right? And because God's honest, I live my life this way. If I go into the cupboard and I'll open it up, I'll open the fridge, I'll walk back and forth 3 times, and I keep looking. I say, there's nothing to eat. I got nothing to eat in this house. I go sit my butt on the couch, and Jenny, love you, girl. She comes back. Where the hell? How did you cook this? There's nothing in the house. How did you prepare this meal? It's delicious. What did you make? What is in this? Because she is a 10 times better cook than I am. So from a coaching perspective, with your analogy, sure, you and I, like maybe our stir fry sucks because maybe we're not as good of a cook. But if somebody knows what to do with set ingredients, they can put together a meal that you and I would look at the individual ingredients and say, well, there ain't shit here. There's nothing I can do. But get somebody that knows what to do with them, and they can put together a pretty damn good meal. Maybe it's not the best meal you've ever had. Maybe it's not as good as it could have been had you had different ingredients. But you can sit at the table and say, my belly's full. That was a good meal. I don't know how you did it, but you did it, girl, and I love you for it. That's how I live my life. That's how Kellen Moore needs to live this weekend.
Well, I mean, you doubled down on my point, though, because I said earlier, this isn't the week to be, we got to get the points and score the points.
But it is. You still got to cook the meal the right way.
No, you got to eat it. You can't be
I have no idea what the hell you people are talking about, but I'm just hungry. Now I'm angry.
No,
I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm hungry.
He made a meal and it's edible.
I didn't make the meal. Jenny made the meal and it's edible.
She found a way to make the meal. It's edible. That doesn't mean it's good.
Oh, okay. All I know is that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you cannot be like, listen, you got to give them the healthy dose of Saquon, and as you should, he's earned that. And every time that dude hits the line of scrimmage, even though he might look like he's going to get tackled at the line of scrimmage, he's still breaking. You look and it's like 2nd and 5. Oh my God, how did he get 5 yards? I thought he was tackled at the line of scrimmage. He is going to get his healthy dose. But you cannot become a one-dimensional team now and scared of all of these, weapons, quote unquote, because you don't have any faith in them. They've been here the entirety of training camp. They know the offense. You have to continue to play the game and keep the defense guessing. You cannot become one-dimensional. And I will say this. Yes, we got a lot of injuries. But I think that the reason this win feels different against the New Orleans Saints, the reason this win feels different from a lot of the other bullshit that happened in 2023 is you saw guys rally for each other. The minute Smitty went down, Saquon Barkley, you can't even call it an angry run because he was untouched, but that dude ran angry. shaking his head in the end zone, flexing on him. And I didn't even see it from my cheap seats, but going to the sideline, getting everybody hyped up, slamming his damn helmet, and they were playing for each other. The players in the locker room. Listen, Fred Johnson had a admirable game. He got skated back one time into Jalen Hurts, but he came in and they're just chanting the dude's name. All right, for all of you dudes out here who have to sit and wait behind the A.J. Browns and the Smiths and the Lane Johnsons, the legends that are Eagles that are playing, the living legends that are playing right now, now is your damn time to shine. This is your opportunity. You may not get a lot of them. So don't be shy, don't be skittish, don't be scared of the moment. Step up and prove why you wear wings on your damn helmet. Give him a healthy dose of Saquon Barkley. The defensive line needs to have the same damn performance that they had against the Bucs as they had against the Saints. Because last week the Bucs gave up 7 sacks. 7 sacks against the Denver Broncos, and they didn't register 1. So I'm confident that the offensive line can figure out a way to get it done. And the defensive line, go hunt. And keep that same exact chip on your shoulder that you had against New Orleans. Yeah, you saw Jalen Carter on the TV chirping. Yeah, you saw CJ chirping. What you guys didn't see, that shit was happening all game long from everybody on the field. They played with a chip on their shoulder, and the minute somebody went down, they got pissed off.
So look, 2 things.
Sorry.
No. That I love it.
I love about food, and I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day, and now I want some stir fry and some cheeseburgers, whatever. So get a little amped up.
So real quick, I'll get into my main point. But the first thing I heard is I get you don't care what Brandon Graham says, right? Because he's on the defense. But my man over here just said that Fred Johnson stepped up. Saquon Barkley was riling and getting and run angry runs, right? And Tyler Steen played some ball, and they played for each other. So you don't care what Brandon Graham says, but it sounds like Nick Sirianni, from a coaching perspective, is doing something right, is communicating a message that, to your point, guys are playing for each other. One goes down, another one steps up, and they get the job done. That wasn't my point. It was just an observation based on what you said. The point that I'm going at is, God, is it not refreshing to have CJ back? Is it not refreshing to see Carter on the sideline hyping it up? I know that that's gotten a lot of attention, and people have some opinions about Jalen Carter, and they got all of these cute things to say about him as a person or his attitude or what that leads to, or you can't have it. Personally, I love it. I love it. That's the type of guy you want, especially on your defensive line. You got to have that dog. And Chris Long said it on his podcast. Like, I'd rather pull him back. I'm paraphrasing. I'd rather have to pull him back than wake him up, right? If I gotta wake my dogs up, if I gotta tell them to get up for the moment, that's a problem. But if I gotta pull you back, if I gotta calm you down, that's the guy that I want. And I think that's what this team sorely lacked last year, because they lost CJ, they lost that personality, they lost that dog in that fire, and now you're seeing, at least on the defensive side, I think that is what this team needs. There's your momentum on the defensive side. You got to get some attitude, and they seem to have that right now.
So
go ahead.
You say something like that, and that's what irks me. Like,
I've done my job then.
First of all,
what irks you?
Giving Nick Sirianni credit, because
he's going to the initial point.
What happened last year when they fell apart? And where was Nick at? Same dog. And when I started the show off saying, I need them to have more heart like they did this game, you're saying, you hold your dogs back. I don't hold my dogs back. Was the dog holding himself back for the first 2 games? Was the dog not hungry? Because, again,
no, he's a rookie.
Where was the dog?
He was a rookie.
No, I'm talking about this season.
Okay, he's
2 games. I said the first 2 games. Yeah. Where was the dog at? Late for a practice or late for a meeting, didn't get to start the game. Where's the dog at? That's what I said. They need to show the heart. They need to go out there and do it. They're the ones earning the check. And I doubt Flower Boy in the middle of the game is doing anything about it. Also, side note, your players can talk all the trash they want to when they're playing against a dirty team that's hitting you late and talking so much trash, and their team has been crowned for headhunting and being dirt balls. So he wants to go and yell on the sideline. Nick Sirianni is the last person on God's green earth that should try to calm anybody down, because he's been neutered, because he's always been a clown yelling on the sideline. So, yes, I love all that stuff that Carter did, because he's out there at war getting thrown around, and Matthews is out there chirping too. So, yeah, talk your talk, be yourself. That's great. Cool. Nick got the team together. I felt like the team saw Smitty got hit, and they were like, yo, bro.
Yeah.
Look, no.
Yeah.
Like, that was enough. You spit on dude, like, we're not having it.
Yeah,
and
which
good
was
enough
trashy.
for them to
Which
keep
was
us some
trashy.
kind of
Where does that
control.
come from? Where does that come from? And again, I've already told you, red pill, blue pill, I'll push the button. I don't think necessarily Sirianni's that dude, right? I've already communicated that. I'm just trying to be objective about the whole thing. And if they have the mentality of not on my watch, not my teammates, going to step up, stand out for my boys, that's culture. And who creates the culture? I'm asking honestly.
You're talking yourself back into Sirianni.
I'm trying to be
Blueprint.
objectively fair to the
I'm
conversation.
ignoring you because I'm not giving him credit for that. I'm giving
But how can you
I'm giving
not?
Gardner credit for that. I'm giving Carter credit for that. I'm giving the defensive players that came out there and fought. I'm giving Vic Fangio credit for that, who's been a straight, no nonsense, no BS guy every time he opens his mouth. You suck, you're sitting. You suck, you're sitting. That guy's a dog. And when he tells you straight up, 3 people suck, and this young rookie is the man, that means something. He's not out there watering flowers and picking up guys and giving quotes from his son's coach in freaking press conferences or in the locker room. And he sure as hell isn't running away from speaking to his team after they get their teeth kicked in. He doesn't do that. So I'm not giving Nick any kind of credit for the attitude and demeanor of a team coming together after they watch one of their guys get their lights rung out. That's football. That's anybody. If I saw you in the street get hit, I'm coming to help you out. It ain't got nothing to do with what E-Rock said to me. I give a shit what he said.
Okay, but you're flip-flopping. And
I'm not flip-flopping.
I'll explain why. Earlier, you just told me I don't give a damn what Brandon Graham says because he's on the defensive side of the ball, and we were talking about the offense. So when I'm talking about the offense, it's Saquon Barkley rumbling down the field for a score and getting all hype. Right?
I didn't
then
say
don't
about
tell
the
me what the
offense.
defense is doing. It goes both ways, and there's only one guy that has control over the offense and defense. It's the CEO/president.
You're not good at conflating. I'm not conflating. I'm
just using your example.
I was talking about Carter.
Right, on the defense.
And your running back ran really hard through a play. What he does all the time.
But that's what he brought up. He brought up. That's what he was talking about. The minute after Smitty went down. The minute after Smitty went down, they got loose, correct? And they all started playing for each other, correct? That's what we said. So all I'm saying is we can't flip-flop it. We can't have it both ways.
They also had double the yards of the other team in the whole first half when nobody went down. So what was that for? They were playing for each other or they were just playing football?
Hey, look, I'm just stating the facts.
This
It's not a
goes
fact.
back to my initial opening statement.
I love it. I really
Is that
do
we
love it.
can feel good about a win, and then, like Mike Schmidt famously said, Philadelphia is the only place where you can experience the thrill of victory and the agony of reading it the next day.
Yeah.
Reading about it the next day.
Right.
And that's how fired up we get because we're passionate about it. We want to see them do well. We want to see them win. And we feel good about a win. But God, like Eagles, listen, make this show easy on us for once. Make the fan base's week easy on us for once. For once, put together a clean game, and I hope it happens. Put together a game where you don't forget that Saquon Barkley leads the league in rushing yards. Get him active and often early. Have a game with smart completions. Put Jalen Hurts in the right position, and Jalen, clean it up. Like, you're playing phenomenal football. The amount of yards that we put up on the Saints was phenomenal. The turnover thing, just clean it up. So with that being said, give me a score before we get out of here. And I got to get something to eat, dude. I got to find something to eat before we get out of here.
Swing by the crib?
What's
You
that?
want to swing by the crib? Jenny cook you something up?
There you go. There you go. Or we'll get those wings. What is the bar down where we got the wings?
Oh, they were good wings.
I forget what it's called.
Oh my God.
Tavern something was a tavern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really good wings.
We're getting wings after the show because I am absolutely starving. Give me a prediction on the score.
Gritty, I'll
Eagles
let you go
versus
first.
Tampa Bay.
Let me contemplate. Oh, you're going to make me go first?
Yep. Or I can go first.
24-14. All right. First time in a long time that the Eagles win by 2 scores. Take it away, boys.
Yeah, I don't see that. I think if there's ever a game that they could lose, but we come out of it saying, "Oh, all right, it is what it is," it would be this type of game. I think it's going to be really difficult in this league to be down arguably three of your top 5 players and still come out with a win. I'll take Tampa in a 23-16 type game. If they can stay clean, that's the only way I think the Eagles win. I just, unfortunately, I don't think that happens. And it pains me to say it, but it's just, it's one of those weeks where it is what it is. So I would have to lean on the road, down what you're down, the turnover issues you've had. I think it bites them.
So again, if you made it this far into the show, you're probably diehard. You're a good individual. You're a good person, and I value you as a person. If you're looking for the show somewhere else besides YouTube, you can go to PHLY Cheap Seats.com. We got all the links up there for you. Get on your iTunes, your Spotify. Go ahead and subscribe for your boys. Give it a 5-star rating. Lie if you have to. Leave a good comment. I'd appreciate it. These guys would appreciate it. And this is where I tell you that I am vastly superior than these two gentlemen sitting next to me. I love them to death. I love them to death. I do. But tell you what else is going on in the world right now? There is a Category 3, possibly up to a Category 4 hurricane going down in Florida right now. A lot of people are stuck on the highway trying to get out of Florida, out of Tampa specifically. Shout out to all my loved ones down there. I got a couple people that are evacuating the area right now, so be safe and all that kind of stuff. But let's just say they have the game on Sunday with the reminiscence of a hurricane, rain, wind, water. You want 24 points? With this offense, so many weapons missing, linemen down, one in a cast? Come on, brother. I don't think so. Go Birds, 17-15 by the grace of Lord above, Jiminy Christmas, if we get lucky out of there with a win. But guess what? Sloppy football. Somebody's going to squirrel on the ground. Something's going to get batted up in the air, and you're not going to have a clean game, ladies and gentlemen. Just keep an eye out. You want a clean game? Wait till we meet the Browns, and then I guarantee a clean victory for you. But until then, stay strapped and get your umbrellas out because it's raining outside, people.
I never felt so confident leaving a show in my score prediction in my life.
What did you say now? 24 what?
24-14.
24-14. Look, weirder things have happened.
Weirder things.
Right?
Weirder
what I said it was going to be a barn burner last week, and it was 15-12?
That is true.
Right?
Who wrote that script? Who wrote that script about what happened down in New Orleans?
Yeah.
By the way, before we get on out of here, shout out to Philly Sports Trips. Absolutely had an amazing time. I've been on more trips than I can remember with them. That New Orleans, by far, the best trip I've ever been on.
Really?
The best away game city. So much fun. Bourbon Street was right there. What an amazing time. Went on a boat propeller alligator tour.
I saw that. Yeah.
Such a charming city. The people were great. You think the Saints fans were and I got wind that the Saints fans were like kind of brutal going down there. The best piece of trash talk I got, it's an old man walking down the street seeing the sea of green walking at him and goes, "Enjoy our city, you're going to lose. Enjoy our city, you're going to lose. Enjoy." Like it was impossible to be mean to them or talk shit to them because they simply. And by the way, Saints marketing department, you guys realize you set yourself up for failure, okay? Because you're all who dat. You are leaving yourself like we have EAGLES. All we're doing is spelling our name. That's it. That's all we're doing. You're asking who dat, setting yourself up for more losses than wins because everyone else that, and you're taking L's. Secondly, and I don't know if you saw it, they played in the stadium.
I saw it.
Place, that little piece, somebody fired up the PowerPoint presentation and put it on the Jumbotron and started talking shit about how the Eagles fans were trashy. And then Saints fans got all in their feelings when I put it up on Twitter and said, "This is why you all lost. Oh, don't get so butthurt. We do that for every game." How about you don't? How about you don't? How about you don't compare yourself to everybody else and try shitting on everybody else to try to make yourself feel like a real NFL city? Because I can tell you with the sea of green that invaded that city, it was fun. Y'all were great. The food was amazing and the hospitality was phenomenal. But let's face facts. Y'all got took over once again. So who dat? We dat.
Hold on now. That's to the marketing department because you just got done telling me about how great New Orleans was and the people were and there wasn't a lot of trash talk. I saw that. I saw it on your feed and that was my first thought. Like, why? Why would you, like, how is that even appropriate? I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in the league with the worst fans in football.
Did they do that at the Flyers games?
I don't see any of that nonsense.
Did they do that at the Sixers game? No. Did they do it at the Phillies or Eagles games? No, because we're a real sports city. See how that works? So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you guys liking and subscribing, commenting. We appreciate Chris out there in the super chat, kind of throwing dollar bills. Maybe like I was in New Orleans, which is how I got all those beads, but that's another story for another time. Until next week, after an Eagles dub, we will see you again right here on Wednesday night on PHLY. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
We all silly like the mayor.